Hey, book besties. Welcome to Everything I Read in May. Sorry I didn't do a weekly reading wrap up at all. I was kind of going through it. My husband ran an ultra marathon. I was busy like every weekend. It was just kind of crazy. I did read 13 books this month, plus a reread, but I'm not counting that. And then I'm in the middle of 3. So we're going to get into it. We're going to pray that my cat doesn't knock over my stand. I'm watching her. She's trying to scratch my toe. I also recorded this whole video and my microphone died. So we're going to pray that that doesn't happen again. And we're going to get into everything that I read. I need to straighten my leg. Please don't scratch me. Okay, first, where's my pile? Okay. First, I read King of Envy by Anna Huang, which is a billionaire romance. If you're familiar with her at all, she always writes super rich guys on the girls that make their pockets hurt. This one is about Vuk Markovic and Ayana. I forget her last name. Anyway, he is selectively mute due to some previous trauma. He also is super rich. He owns a liquor business, I think. She's a model, and she's about to marry his best friend. And he has kind of had a crush on her for a while, but as the wedding is getting closer, he's like, man, I really wish she was mine. Bunch of drama ensues. I really feel like Anna Huang got back to her morally gray roots, which we love. There was a little bit more action in this than some of the previous books in the series, a little bit more, death, drama, stuff like that. So, highly recommend. Also, big win for us cat girlies. There's a cat in that book. Speaking of cats, I'm just going to go in whatever order things pop into my head, not the order I actually read them in. I listened to Lights Out. Beautiful. Whenever people say listen to Lights Out, you absolutely should. I cannot imagine this being good on paper because the voice actors just like breathe life into the characters. It is a dark comedy stalker romance where Josh has one of those like masked men TikTok thirst accounts, and Allie is a nurse and she like watches him sometimes, and he like finds out who she is and that she's a big fan. He kind of becomes obsessed with her and starts like stalking her. And then like once she realizes it's him, like she's kind of also obsessed with him. It's so funny. It's so good. They have a cat. He's just such a golden retriever that you like can't be upset about the fact that he stalks her. Like you just can't be mad. It's too good. What's next in my pile? A Conduit of Light by Chelsea Ann Tompkins. I won all of these books in a giveaway, so super excited to keep reading them. But I only read the first one so far, and this is a fantasy romance that in the beginning the author points out that it's interestingly written. It is written, some of the chapters are in first person and some of them are in third person. We have two main POV characters. We have Ash, and her characters are written in third person, and then we have Karis, and her chapters are written in first person. You find out why. I won't spoil it. There is also a love interest named Rev. Ooh, I have some art. Ooh. But basically, Ash is brought to basically like the magical center of this place, and she's training to become a conduit. She doesn't really want to be there. And the love interest guy, he's a baron. They're like called barons, the people in like charge of this. But he's like the baron to be. There's a current baron, and then he's like training. So there's a magical library, there's magical creatures, there's a little fairy. It's really good. I very much enjoyed kind of discovering what was happening and then experiencing it. So I'm definitely interested in reading the next one. I listened to Wisteria by Adeline Grace. This is the third and final book in the main trilogy of the series. There's going to be like a holiday special novella, but this follows Eris, aka Fate, and Blythe, and they are in kind of a marriage of convenience. And so this, I believe it starts with their wedding, and then it kind of goes into like them living together and the drama. He's literally fate, like he weaves people's fates, and she kind of gave herself up to be married to him because he really wanted the girl from the first two books. There's some drama surrounding like her family. She used to be really ill, and so she hasn't really like fully recovered from that, and her family, some of them have passed away, and fate is looking for life. I'll say that. So it was pretty good. I would recommend reading that. Then, somewhere in there, I read Not Safe for Work by Nisha Tooley. I have read, I think, almost all of her fantasy romance romantasy books. This is contemporary romance, if you can't tell. Also, super cute cover. And it is a rival workplace romance between Rafe, who's like the boss's son, I think he's the boss, and Trishara, aka Triss, who is a engineer, and so she's had to go through a lot as a Black POC, not Black, as a POC woman in STEM. She's had to really fight for her position and like work really hard, and so they're on this work trip in Hawaii, and at the end is kind of like a prize, a promotion, a thing. She really wants it. She's like, oh, he's probably gonna get it because he's the boss's son. I think the only thing that could have made this book better is dual POV. I really wanted Rafe's yearning. I wanted to see how desperate he was because he's supposed to be like yearning for her. He's supposed to be in love, you know? But it was really good. I enjoyed it. There's some like really funny banter, some back and forth. It probably wasn't my favorite contemporary romance, but I would say it's really good like beach read, you know, for the summertime. I listened to a couple weird books. I listened to um I Got Abducted by Aliens and Now I'm in a Rom-Com by Kimberly Lemming. Didn't really read what this book was about. I knew I was going to like it, but I didn't really like read the description, which talks about the fact that it's supposed to be like two alien dudes. It's like why choose and her. So the first spicy scene, it gets right into it. I was like, whoa, that was a lot. But it reminded me a lot of Ice Planet Barbarians, where we have a person who gets abducted by aliens. She is a scientist. She is studying meerkats in Africa. She gets abducted with a lion, and now they're on a new planet that's basically being set up by this other alien group as kind of a breeding program. And so she's there with her lion friend, who she names Toto, who she can talk to, and then these two alien dudes. It's a good time. I suggest it for sure. Then I read Under Lock and Key by Lana Ferguson. I have read her other book, Fake Mate. Didn't really love that, and didn't really love this. I think I gave it 2 stars because I was more interested in the like ancestors of the characters, because part of the plot is that like their families long time ago in Scotland had conflict, and now they are kind of living through the consequences of that. One of them may or may not turn into the Loch Ness monster. Guess you'll never know unless you read the book. But I really didn't care about them. I cared about the people like in the cool castles way back in the day. So didn't love that. I this was not good either. Listened to The Courting of Bristol Keats by Mary Pearson, which very unfortunate that I didn't like it because look how cute this book is. This is kind of like what if someone tried to do adult Cruel Prince and didn't do a very good job. We have a character, I don't even know her name. Oh, it's Bristol Keats. LOL, it's in the title. She has lived kind of a bohemian lifestyle, traveling around. She has her sisters, but her parents are gone. Her mom died, and then her dad was in a very tragic accident, and they were kind of like art dealers. And she basically gets pulled into the fairy realm, learns some stuff about her family. They're trying to like get her to stay. um it's weird. The like storyline is weird. The plot has all these like holes and jumps, and they never like introduced characters in a way that made sense to me, because there was all these different POVs, but they never said who the POV was, and those people would know characters that like others didn't, and they would just talk about them. And I was like, who the fuck is that? So didn't love this book. I don't even remember how it ended because it was not good. I will not be continuing this. I'll probably sell it. I read Firebird by Juliet Cross. This is the Fairy Loot version, so it's real pretty. But the book itself kind of caused a little bit of controversy. So this is a historical fantasy romance set in imaginary Rome, where the Romans are also dragon like shifters. Some of them, not everybody is a dragon shifter. Like the people in power are dragon shifters. And within that society, there is still the existence of slavery as the Romans did it, which was not what we know in America as slavery. It did not matter your race or country of origin. It was more just like, hey, we conquered you. You are now a slave. But it also was not as difficult to get out of said enslavement. It's complicated. There's nuance to it in real life, and there's nuance to it in this book. I think people who automatically judged it and said like you should never read this, it's terrible, that's a little much. There are content warnings, like it tells you that that is a dynamic in this book. I also think that the main male character, who is the master, does not ever at any point treat her as a slave. Like he literally tells her, he's like, I have to keep up an image in order to do what he wants to do, which is take down his uncle, who's the current Caesar. He has to kind of fake it. And so he's like, you're going to be a slave in my house. You're going to be my body slave. And like, be careful because people will want you. And so you have to, like, as long as they know you're mine, that will help protect you. And also he never like makes her do things that she doesn't want to do. And I do think that because she also has some magical powers, she has a bit of a advantage that like a normal person would not, because this is a fantasy world where there are dragons and people with magic. But it does start off with some pretty intense scenes, and there's also some other scenes that are very like trigger warning-y. So if you're not comfortable with those kind of things, that's fine, don't read the book. But I do think people jump the gun a little bit on saying like never read this book. I think it's a book for certain people who want to read that type of dynamic and like those darker themes. I'm going to read book 2 because I really want to know what happens. And I thought it was pretty interesting and well done when it came to like, the slavery part is bad. It's not like selling you like, hey, this is a good thing, we're endorsing it. They're like, no, this is terrible, and they're trying to fight against it. So there's that. Don't fall. I read a book called My Dark Prince, which is the third book in a series. There's My Dark Romeo, My Dark Desire, My Dark Prince. The first one is Beauty and the Beast, kind of. Second one's Cinderella, kind of. This one is Sleeping Beauty, kind of. Her name is literally Briar Rose. His name's Oliver. We've seen him in the previous books. He seems like a giant jerk at first and a playboy. We all assumed, I thought, that he was going to go for the younger sister of the girl from the first book, where there's like a huge age gap and would be uncomfortable. Shockingly, he didn't, so I was okay with that. But the reason it's kind of like Sleeping Beauty is they were childhood friends and then boyfriend girlfriend. They had a huge falling out. They haven't seen each other for like 10 years. She gets hurt and goes into a short coma and then has amnesia and doesn't really remember her life since like 19. So she remembers being his girlfriend, and he was around when this accident happened. They like reunite. And so he's like, okay, you can move in with me because I'm trying to help you like recover your memories. And the doctor's like, she needs someone safe. She doesn't have anyone else. Her parents are terrible people. So I thought it was pretty good. I don't understand why these authors make these main male characters so weird about intimacy, like physical intimacy. I won't get into it, but just why? But it's kind of like watching a car crash reading these books. Like you see it happen. You're like, whoa, let me make sure people are okay and like look at the wreckage, because these books are a fucking they're a wreck. They're crazy. They're absolutely insane. What else did I read? I read my arc of God and the Beeson by Sophie Kim, which is the second book for God and the Gamiho, which I loved. I'm pretty sure that was my top book of last year, if not top 5, which it is a like Korean mythology inspired, very K-drama-y book. The first one, we have Sukka, who's the trickster god, and he is basically doing time on Earth for some crimes, and he's kind of doing some investigations. And Hanny is a fox, a kitsune, and she also has some stuff she did in her past that was not good. She may have eaten, the hearts of a couple hundred men. It's fine. And so they have to do a little buddy cop thing. They end up, falling for each other, but then something happens at the end of the book where Hanny dies and she is reincarnated. So in the second book, we have a reincarnated version of Hanny who is not Hanny. Now she's Kisa, and Sukka has been looking for her for like 30 years. He's depressed, going to therapy. His therapist is like, hey, go on a vacation. Vacation happens to be in the afterlife on this riverboat that's kind of like a cruise for the souls, the Guisen, that's like a ghost kind of in Korean. And Kisa works on that boat. There's kind of another mystery they have to solve. They end up having to take care of a baby, which hilarious. I normally don't like children, but like the fact that they just kind of have to have this baby with them is funny. I really enjoy these books. They're just so good. They're funny, they're romantic. It is like the perfect amount of mystery, fantasy, romance, and drama. I also read an arc of Psycho Shifters by Jasmine Moss, which is a book that's already out, but it's being picked up traditionally and published again. And I was like, I didn't really love Blood of Hercules. Right, that's the book. I didn't really love that, but I was like, let me give it a shot. I'm willing to give this author a second chance. Where's my water bottle? I need a drink before I talk about this. It's bad. It's a bad book. I give it 2 stars. So we have, what the fuck is her name? Sadie. We have Sadie. She's had a terrible life with an abusive foster parent. Really, really bad life. Okay. And everyone is tested. This is Omegaverse. Everyone is tested at a certain age to see if you're an alpha, a beta, omega, or a null shifter, as in like you don't really do anything. She gets tested. She's an alpha, first ever probably female alpha. So she gets sent off to the front lines to train because the shifters are fighting against the Fae through this portal thing. Don't ask questions. I don't know. There's 3 alpha dudes there. This is a bully romance. These 3 people are, oh, they're so mean to her. Well, one of them is kind of nice, but 2 of them are really mean to her. And one of them, in his POV chapters, which there are not many of, he says the word slut 17 times. Not in a, hey, this is their schmink kind of way, in a, this is just how he talks about women, and I despise that. But she is so small and weak, and and they're so big. It was not good. Did not enjoy that. What else did I read this month? Shit, I'm forgetting. I'm gonna have to check. I think that was it. That was the 13 books I read. I also did a reread / listen of Following the Snow. The author just released the audiobook, and she does all of the, it's a duet narration. She does all the female voices, and then there's someone else who does the male ones. Fantastic. I absolutely loved like checking back in on this world before I read the next ones. It kind of reminds me of in The Witcher, where the girl has to go to like mage school, but also they learn how to like seduce men. That's not really what they're doing, but that's kind of what they do, mixed with like nunness. I don't know. The main character has to go to this like place. She's been chosen, and they train, and then you get matched with a scion, and it's so spicy. This is going to be why I choose. This book doesn't really get into that, but it's going to be. So, and then what am I reading right now? I started the audiobook for Watermoon. I don't have the dust jacket that you can actually see. That is about, from what I can tell, they run a pawn shop where they buy your poor choices. That's all I got to so far. So I started that, and then I got distracted by Silver Elite. I've been listening to that shit show. It is so mediocre. If you haven't heard about it, this is a dystopian romance, which there are some people who are very upset with the fact that someone's trying to make dystopian more romance focused than, like, I don't know, The Hunger Games. I don't think it's that bad, but it's bad. So I'm reading that. It's very mediocre. I'll probably finish it today. And then last but not least, I'm reading the arc of Shadowed Obsession, which is another stalker dark comedy romance where we have our guy, Cesar, and he is a PI, and he's been hired to look into, oh my gosh, I forgot her name all of a sudden. Everybody calls her D. That's not her nickname. He calls her Doe. That's not her real name. I'll remember it at some point and I'll put it there. But he's been hired to look into her and her family, and her family works in the like whiskey distillery business and also is part of like a crime family. But she's trying to get away from that. She's trying to just open up this whiskey place in Texas, and a competing family is the one who's hired him. And so while he's been like looking at her and stalking her as PIs do, he starts to be like, oh, I kind of like her. And she notices him, and she's like, I could change my locks and close my windows, but what if I didn't? So things have started to get a little spicy between them, and I'm really enjoying it. It's super funny. I'm going to be seeing the author of this book in October, and I got a special edition, and I'm so excited. So that's where we're at. Man, May was a fucking month. There was so much going on. I just didn't feel like recording things, and now that I'm sitting down, I'm feeling weird about it. So if anybody loves me, you'll like, comment, subscribe. And I will see you. Hopefully, I remember to do my weekly reading wrap ups. If not, you will see me at some point. Okay? Thanks. Bye.